Imagine looking in the mirror today and not recognizing the person you see. What if I told you that this is exactly what will happen, not by chance, but by choice? Not by magic, but by process. In 1 year, you will be unrecognizable if you are willing to follow 10 rules that did not come from self-help books or motivational speakers, but from the forge of the factory floor. Rules I've extracted from real life, from daily sweat, from the struggle for efficiency, emotional control, and purpose. I am Henry Ford, and this is not a video. It's a mentoring session, one that you will carry with you for the rest of your life. And if you're just here to watch, I recommend you leave. Now, if you're here to change, take a deep breath and get ready, because this will demand your utmost, but the result will be your rebirth. If that can make sense to you, then sign up now, but not because I'm asking you to, but because if you don't start by committing to something simple, you'll never be able to handle what lies ahead. The first rule to becoming unrecognizable in a year is simple. Take full responsibility for your current condition. That means stop blaming the government, your boss, your family, or your lack of luck. None of that builds a productive mindset. When I started my first factory, I faced sabotage, shortages, contempt, and even laughter at my ideas. But I understood that as long as I spent energy pointing fingers, I was failing to put energy into the solution. The secret is not in rebellion, but in rebuilding. Every broken system starts with an individual who stops acting. And every empire begins when an individual decides to solve what others ignore. The second rule is to simplify everything. If you can't explain your life plan in one sentence, you don't have a plan. The problem with ordinary people is that they get caught up in complexity. They make empty promises, keep themselves busy with useless tasks, and take pride in their full schedules, but deliver nothing of value. I created one of the largest industries on the planet by eliminating complexity. Every part, every process, every operation was simplified to the extreme, because what is simple works. What is complex breaks. Apply this to your routine. Cut out excess. Cut out relationships that drag you down. Cut out goals that have no purpose. And if there is room left, fill it with focus. Third rule. Master your morning routine. How you start your day determines who you become. I woke up early, not out of romanticism, but out of logic. The silence of the morning is a competitive advantage. Use this time to align your brain with your mission. Do something with your body walk, breathe, stretch. And do something with your mind plan, visualize, execute. The morning is not a mystical ritual. It is a technical moment of alignment. Those who waste this moment enter the day like a zombie, reacting to everything, controlled by other people's agendas. The fourth rule is to develop an obsession with efficiency. And when I say obsession, I mean it literally. Anything that doesn't bring you closer to your goal is garbage. Start by auditing your week. How many hours did you spend on distractions? On useless news? On unproductive discussions? Now multiply that by 52 weeks. You'll see why you are exactly where you are. Efficiency is the result of small choices made 1,000 times a day. One less click on your cell phone. One less conversation with someone who doesn't move you forward. One more task done even when you don't feel like it. That's what makes a difference. Rule 5. Pay the price of emotional discipline. Because if you are a hostage to your emotions, you will be a slave to circumstances. I have seen brilliant men ruin businesses because they couldn't control their pride, fear, or anger. Emotion is not an excuse. It is an operating variable. Feel what you need to feel, but don't make decisions in the heat of the moment. Emotional control is like an emergency brake. You don't use it all the time, but when you need it, it saves your life. If you freak out every time there's a crisis, then you're not ready to thrive. And there's no shame in that. There's shame in knowing that and continuing to act the same way. The sixth rule is to create a system of visible progress. There's no point in wanting to change without measuring. You need to see your progress to stay motivated. I used to do this with production reports, charts, and deadlines. Today, you can do it with a notebook, an app, or even a spreadsheet. But do it. The absence of measurement destroys consistency. And without consistency, you don't change. Transformation is only irreversible when it becomes a process. And process only exists with measurement. Rule 7. Standardize your winning habits. When a habit works, it should be repeated until it becomes automatic. That's how we created the assembly line. The same movement, the same result. And that's not alienation, it's freedom. When you automate productive habits, you free your mind for bigger decisions. Define what works for your diet, your studies, your focus time, and repeat. Repeat until doing the right thing becomes as natural as brushing your teeth. The eighth rule: cut out everything that isn't essential. This includes activities, objects, people, and even ideas. Simplicity is a blade that cuts away the excess. To reveal the essential, I eliminated entire departments that didn't deliver value. And you need to do the same with your life. If a friend only distracts you, cut them out. If a belief only limits you, cut it out. If a habit pushes you backward, cut it out. Life is an engine, and engines need constant cleaning to run at peak performance. The ninth rule is to set goals that scare you. Because if it doesn't scare you, it won't change you. Mediocrity begins when you settle for what you can already do. The goals that change your life are the ones that force you to become someone else. I wanted to put a car in every American's garage. They laughed at me. They called me crazy. Today, my name is on millions of cars. Not because I'm brilliant, but because I was stubborn with a vision. You need a vision that makes your legs shake. That's what will keep you going when everything falls apart. 10th and final rule: build something that works without you. This applies to your money, your time, your impact. A well-structured life doesn't collapse in your absence. I built a company that continued to thrive after I left. And you should do the same with your routine, your family, your sources of income. Automate, teach, delegate, structure. Because in the end, true success isn't about running after everything. It's knowing that everything runs even when you rest. These are the 10 rules. They are not nice ideas to write down in a notebook. They are operating principles. If you apply each one intensely, you will look in the mirror a year from now and not recognize who you see. And when that happens, you will know that this was the first day of your new life. Now that you understand the rules, it's time to apply them. Because knowing doesn't change anything. Doing changes everything. And here begins the real work. The problem with 99% of people who hear advice like this is that they confuse inspiration with action. They feel good for a few minutes, then go back to the same habits, the same excuses, the same life they hate. Do you know why? Because they didn't turn rules into routines. And routines, my friend, are the engine of irreversible transformation. It's not glamour. It's repetition. Do you want to become unrecognizable in a year? Then start with what you control right now. Your next thought, your next action, your next commitment. And turn that into a system. That's what I did when I set up my first assembly line. It wasn't luck. It was logic applied with discipline. Take that logic and bring it into your life. First, create an environment that imposes discipline. I built factories based on ergonomics and production rhythm because I knew that the environment shapes behavior. If you live surrounded by distractions, negative people, disorder, then your mind will operate in survival mode. Now, if your environment demands focus, clarity, and order, your mind will respond accordingly. Tidy up your space. Organize your time. Turn your home into a results factory. And that doesn't require money. It requires decision. Second, turn your rituals into processes. You already know what works. Wake up early, plan your day, take care of your body, study, produce. So stop negotiating with that. Do it like an assembly line. Same time, same pace, same delivery. This doesn't take away your freedom. It creates freedom. Freedom does not come from chaos. It is born from structure. When your life becomes a productive system, you no longer need to force yourself. You just function. Third, map and eliminate leaks. Time, energy, and money. See where you are wasting them. Hours on your cell phone? Disconnect. Pointless conversations? Cut them out. Emotional expenditure on problems you cannot solve? Stop now. I never accepted waste in my factories. Why would you accept it in your life? If a machine is defective, fix it. If a process consumes too much, improve it. Do this with yourself. Observe, measure, adjust. Fourth, have daily goals. Nothing great is built in one leap. Greatness is made up of 1,000 small steps, taken at the right pace. Forget about the year for now. Focus on today. What are you going to do today that will take you 1% closer to your new self? Because if you grow 1% a day, you will multiply 37 times in a year. That's exponential. That's personal transformation engineering. But it only happens if it's daily, without excuses, without fail. Fifth, control the flow of information. Because your mind is a production line, and everything that goes in influences what comes out. If you consume garbage, your mind produces discouragement. If you consume value, your mind produces solutions. I controlled everything that went into the production line. You need to control everything that goes into your head. Cancel the noise. Choose the content. Protect your focus like a sacred asset. Sixth, build a core of strength. People who pull you up. People who demand your best. I didn't tolerate mediocrity. On my team, it wasn't arrogance. It was standard. And standards are what define a system. If you hang out with people who accept anything, you'll accept anything. Now, if you hang out with people who challenge you, correct you, and inspire you, you'll grow. Build that core. Even if it's just one person. But let that person be a mirror of what you want to become. Seventh, operate with rhythm. Rhythm is the soul of production. A machine that stops and starts breaks down. A body that sleeps, wakes up, and stops doesn't evolve. A mind that alternates between focus and distraction doesn't create. You need to get into a state of flow, and that only comes with rhythm. Set up work blocks. Set fixed rest times. Establish clear rules for when you are available and when you are unavailable. This is behavioral engineering. And it works. Eighth, record everything. Because what is not measured does not improve. I knew exactly how many parts a machine produced per hour. And you need to know exactly what you did, how much you evolved, what worked. Get a notebook. Write down your actions. Analyze your mistakes. Document your successes. This creates awareness. And awareness creates consistency. And consistency creates transformation. Ninth, eliminate unnecessary effort. Force is not synonymous with results. Operational intelligence is knowing where to apply energy with maximum efficiency. Don't run all the time. Run in the right direction. Don't study everything. Study what makes you perform better. Don't try to please everyone. Serve those who need what you have. This is industrial focus applied to personal life. It works, and it sets you free. 10th, build redundancies. A good system does not depend on luck. It has a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. If one machine fails, another takes over. Do this with your habits. create alternatives. If you can't train in the morning, find another window in the day. If you lose focus, set an alarm to bring you back. It's not perfection. It's contingency engineering. And it keeps progress uninterrupted. These are the gears. Build your transformation engine with them. One by one. Adjust, improve, evolve. You don't need motivation. You need a system. And when your system is running consistently, you won't need willpower anymore. Productivity will be your natural state. Discipline will be your default mode. And excellence will be inevitable. You've made it this far, so I'm going to tell you something that few are ready to hear. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, but because they lack tolerance for boredom. That's right, boredom. Because real transformation is boring. It's repetitive. It's sweaty. There's no applause, no Instagram posts, no inspirational background music. It's you with yourself, doing what needs to be done. Every day. When you're excited, when you're tired, when no one is watching. That's what separates the amateur from the professional, the curious from the committed, the spectator from the builder. Do you want to be unrecognizable in a year? Then accept that half of that process will seem insignificant. It will seem like it's not working. It will seem like nothing has changed. But that's exactly where the secret lies. Because what changes is not the world around you. It's your internal system, the way you think, the way you react, the way you act, even when you don't see immediate results. That's operational consistency. That's what builds empires. Now, let's get to what needs to be installed in your mental system from now on. First, abandon the logic of immediate reward. I've seen many men sabotage brilliant careers because they didn't know how to wait. They wanted recognition, return, validation, fast. And when it didn't come, they gave up. The assembly line doesn't care about your mood. It operates because the project demands it. Your life needs to operate with the same strategic coldness. Do what needs to be done, and the results will come, but at the right time. Your role is not to demand. It is to build. Second, install the logic of inevitability. When I decided that every American would have access to a car, it wasn't a wish. It was a fact in the making. And everything I did moved in that direction. You need to think the same way. Your goals are not possibilities. They are inevitabilities. As long as you apply the right system, with the right energy, for the necessary amount of time. A mindset of inevitability changes everything. It turns doubt into direction. Turn your goals into confirmed destinations, and then walk toward them without straying. Third, adopt silence as a strategic advantage. The less you talk about your plans, the more energy you preserve to execute them. Words drain your power when used in excess. I didn't need to announce every step. I just did it. Today, many people live to talk, post, and announce, but few live to build in silence. Do the opposite. Be quiet. Be firm. Be disciplined. And when the world notices, you will have become unrecognizable. Fourth, replace motivation with obligation. What do I mean by that? Simple. As long as you depend on your desire to do something, you will never be consistent. The worker in my factory didn't expect to be motivated to work. He had a job, a goal, a responsibility. Treat your life with the same seriousness. You have a job to transform. You have a goal, total evolution. And you have a responsibility to build the best version of yourself every day. This is not an option. It is an obligation. Fifth, create goals that force you to change your identity. Because the biggest mistake you can make is to try to grow while remaining the same person. If you want to have the body, the money, the emotional control, and the clarity of someone you admire, then you need to become that person. I built what? I built because I refused to accept being just a rural mechanic. I became a walking system of productivity, discipline, and obsession. You need to kill the previous version of yourself every day. And that starts with deciding who you want to be and acting like that person, even before you feel like it. Sixth, train pain as an asset. Most people run away from pain. I, on the other hand, used pain as fuel. When a project failed, I learned. When a process broke, I improved it. When an employee quit, I optimized. Pain is not the end. It is the data that teaches you. Stop suffering for the sake of suffering. Start suffering for the sake of growth. All pain has information. All frustration has a code. If you know how to decipher it, your pain becomes an asset. It becomes wisdom. It becomes a weapon. Seventh, master the art of starting over quickly. The difference between the great and the mediocre is not that the great don't make mistakes. It's that they don't waste too much time lamenting their mistakes. A process breaks, adjust it. A bad day, come back the next day. An emotional failure, breathe, reset, execute again. The secret is not to fall. It's not to stay down. I've rebuilt entire systems in a matter of hours. Because I knew that. Lamenting doesn't deliver results. Action does. And fast. Eighth, model systems that work. You don't have to invent everything from scratch. Observe those who have already arrived where you want to be. Copy the processes. Adapt the gears. Test. Refine. Standardize. I observed entire industries before designing my ideal factory. And when I found the model that worked, I improved it, optimized it, and made it irreversible. Do this with your body, with your finances, with your routine, with your spirituality. There are models that work. Bring them to yourself. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Improve it. Ninth, structure your schedule like a machine. A set time to wake up. Defined blocks of time for tasks. Predetermined rest periods. Scheduled meals. Planned reading. Do you think this is overkill? I say it's freedom. When everything is structured, you no longer need to think, just act. And it is precisely this conscious automation that frees you to think big, dream big, and achieve big. 10th, live as if you have already become your best self, because your brain believes what you consistently practice. If you act like someone who is disciplined, productive, calm, and strong, your brain begins to operate in that pattern. And over time, it becomes automatic. Transformation does not happen in the future. It starts now with your behavior. Act like a winner. And winning will only be a matter of time. If you apply these mental gears with the same precision with which I built my industrial systems, you will create an emotional, physical, and financial system that no longer depends on your will but on your structure. And that is power. Now you have the engine, the axles, and the structure. But one essential piece is missing: the right fuel. Because even the most efficient machine fails if fed with poor raw materials. And that fuel is your mindset. The way you interpret the world. The way you deal with time, with challenges, with others, and with yourself. Everything that builds or destroys starts there. So if you want to be unrecognizable in a year, you need to change your relationship with 3 elements: time, failure, and work. Let's start with time. Most people treat time as if it were an infinite resource. They live putting things off. They live waiting for the ideal moment. But time waits for no one. And what you don't build today becomes debt in the future. When I started mass production, I realized that the biggest enemy of profit was wasted time. A second wasted per piece multiplied into millions at the end of the month. So I optimized everything. I timed each step. I automated what I could. I eliminated what didn't add value. Do the same with your days. Every minute wasted is a broken piece in your system. And at the end of a year, that piece costs too much. Now, about failure. It's not the opposite of success. It's the laboratory where success is manufactured. I failed with my first electric car. I failed to convince investors. I was rejected, sabotaged, ridiculed, but each failure gave me data. It showed me where to adjust. It forced me to think differently. And that goes for you too. You will make mistakes. You will fall. You will get frustrated. But if you have a system, you will learn faster. If you have clarity, you will get back up stronger. And if you have vision, you will keep going even when no one else believes in you. Finally, work. I transformed the world with a simple idea. Work well done is the greatest agent of social change. While others saw work as a curse, I saw it as a tool. While others exploited workers, I raised wages. Not out of charity, but out of strategy. A well-paid worker is more productive, more loyal, and more proud of what they do. And the same goes for you. Respect your own work. Deliver more than you promised. Do it right even when no one is looking. Because excellence is the trademark of those who are unrecognizable. And now, let's talk about money. Because many want to be financially unrecognizable, but continue with the same scarcity mindset. They think small. They are afraid to invest. They shy away from risk. They confuse price with value. Money is a consequence, not a goal. It comes to those who structure value, to those who solve problems, to those who operate with excellence. When I standardized my production, I reduced the cost of a car to the point where any American family could buy one. I democratized mobility. In return, the money came. Not because I asked for it, but because I delivered. Do you want more money? Then stop chasing it. Chase systems that generate value every day. Use your mind to create solutions. Use your time to execute consistently. Use your energy to improve until there is no room for improvement. And when the money comes, and it will come, don't use it as a trophy. Use it as leverage. To scale, to multiply, to impact, because real wealth is that which generates more value than it consumes. Another crucial point, learn to operate in cycles. Nothing in the world is linear. Not nature, not the economy, not your personal evolution. There will be days of rapid growth and days of apparent stagnation, and that's okay. The secret is to keep operating the system, even in the low cycles, because that's when most people give up. But the unrecognizable don't stop. They adjust, they correct, they deepen, but they don't stop. Cycles don't affect you when you have structure. And speaking of structure, here's a hard truth. If your life is chaotic, it's because you're being too permissive with lack of control. Everything you tolerate grows stronger. If you tolerate delays, you will always be late. If you tolerate disorganization, you will live in chaos. If you tolerate excuses, you will be a slave to them. I was intolerant of flawed processes, not out of harshness, but out of vision, because I knew that a small mistake tolerated today would become a big problem tomorrow. Do the same with your life. Pay attention to every detail. Become uncompromising with everything that sabotages your progress. Now, let's talk about something that few people value: productive silence. You need time alone to think, reflect, and correct. I used to walk alone through the warehouses at the end of the day. I observed. I took notes. I reformulated. Great ideas are not born in noise. They are born in silence. Set aside time every day to think, to plan, to listen to yourself. It is in this space that the new you begins to take shape. And remember, real transformation is not visible at first. It happens in the dark, away from the spotlight, away from social media. It happens when you say no to the easy way out. When you choose what works, not what pleases. When you build even without applause. And one day, without realizing it, you will become that person who once only existed in your imagination, unrecognizable, not because you've changed on the outside, but because you've rebuilt everything. On the inside, you've made it this far. That means you're beginning to understand what really transforms an ordinary person into someone unrecognizable. And now it's time to talk about what goes on behind the scenes, the part that no one sees. Because building a new self requires something that few people are willing to offer: rigor with purpose. It's not enough to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined with direction. There's no point in waking up early, reading books, working hard if all of that is misaligned with your destiny. You need to know exactly where you want to go, and then align every movement as if it were a high-precision gear. Let's start with a point that most people ignore: weekly performance reviews. Every Friday, at the end of my workday, I did what today would be called a weekly check-in. I gathered my reports. I analyzed bottlenecks. I corrected deviations. And that gave me a huge advantage. While others ended the week with relief, I ended it with clarity. You should do the same. Before celebrating the weekend, stop for 20 minutes. Grab a pen and paper. Ask yourself, what did I do well? What could have been better? What will be corrected next week? This alone can transform your life. Because those who measure, improve. Those who review, adjust. And those who adjust, evolve. Another vital point: predictability. The human mind thrives when it knows what to expect. I created fixed schedules, production standards, and scheduled deliveries. And that created stability. Chaos arises when every day is a surprise. You wake up and don't know what's coming. That drains energy. And where there is loss of energy, there is loss of focus. Create your own predictability. Establish a clear plan for your week. Define what is sacred: workouts, reading, focus, rest. Make all of this predictable. Because predictability is the fertile ground for high performance. Let's go further. Systematize. Even your motivation. That's right. Motivation cannot be left to chance. It needs to be triggered every day. How? With visual cues, impactful phrases, visible goals. In my factory, workers saw panels with goals and progress, and that drove them. Do the same. Stick phrases on the mirror. Use wallpaper with your goal. Record audio clips with your voice reaffirming where you are going to get to. This is not nonsense. It is behavioral engineering applied to identity. You need to see, hear, and feel your new version until it becomes inevitable. Now, something fundamental: energy flow control. Many people fail not because of a lack of talent, but because of poor energy management. They wake up feeling bad, eat poorly, sleep poorly, and want to perform well. That doesn't work. I studied the rhythm of the workers, adjusted the lighting, breaks, shifts, everything to preserve energy. You need to do the same with your life. Take care of your diet. Protect your sleep as an asset. Disconnect from excessive stimulation. Take real breaks. Because energy is the fuel for your system. Without it, even the best strategy fails. Since we're talking about fuel, let's talk about purpose. Because everything you're building only makes sense if it's connected to something bigger. I never built cars for the sake of building cars. I built freedom, mobility, progress. That's what drove me. I ask you, what drives you? If it's just money, you'll stop at the first hurdle. If it's just status, you'll lose your way. It needs to be something that burns inside you. That makes you get up when everything seems lost. Find it, write it down, declare it. Remember it every day. Because when your purpose is strong, your body obeys. Another advanced point. Preparation for collapse. Yes, they will come. Moments when everything seems to fall apart, when your faith will be tested, when results don't show up, when people will abandon you. And that's when you need reserves. Emotional reserves, financial reserves, reserves of faith. I have been through crises, strikes, losses. But I survived because I prepared myself. You need to do the same. Have a strategic reserve. Don't spend everything when you're doing well. Build when everything is going wrong. Maintain discipline even without results. Because the strong are not those who never fall. They are those who already had a foundation before the storm. And now, a provocation. Are you ready to lead? Because becoming unrecognizable also means becoming a reference, an example. And that brings responsibility. People will look to you. They will mirror you. And you will need to live up to what you preach. I have led workers, engineers, investors. And they all expected more from me than orders. They expected consistency. Your new version will demand that too. Leadership starts in the mirror. Be what you demand of others. Do before you tell. Deliver before you demand. Inspire without speaking. This creates real authority. Finally, understand this. You will not be the same person who started this journey. And that's what scares you. Because change hurts. Growing hurts. Abandoning old versions hurts. But it's a holy pain. The pain of refinement, of rebirth. The pain of realigning with your most powerful essence. Accept it. Embrace the discomfort and move forward. Because in the end, what awaits you is not just a new life, it's a new identity, forged in the fire of discipline, shaped by the structure of efficiency, fueled by purpose, and shielded by the clarity that transformation is here to stay. Now is the time to close this cycle, to sew together everything that has been built in the previous blocks and deliver to you not just a speech, but a definitive call to action. Because if you have applied each of these mental gears, each system of discipline, each engine of execution with me, then you are different now. And this is just the beginning. What lies ahead depends on one thing, a radical decision to stay. Because most people start, few continue, even fewer finish. And almost no one keeps it up. Let's make one thing clear. You can no longer go back to who you were. Because now you know, and those who know have a responsibility. You can't unsee what has been revealed. You can't pretend you don't understand. The only way out now is to go all the way. And the end, in this case, is not a destination. It's a new beginning. A starting point where you will never allow yourself to live below your potential again. I didn't become Henry Ford in a month, a year, or a decade. I became unrecognizable because I created a system of perpetual evolution. And that's what you need to activate now. The new self-maintenance system. How? Simple. By running high-performance cycles non-stop. Every 90 days, review everything. Goals, processes, people, habits. Eliminate what has weakened you. Improve what works. Add what has become necessary. Growth is not a summer project. It's a factory that operates 365 days a year. And if you want a life of excellence, you need to treat your routine with the same seriousness as a high-level production line. Next point, daily shielding ritual. Every day you will be attacked by distractions, doubts, comparisons. This is the world trying to pull you back into mediocrity. And the only defense against this is a daily alignment ritual, preferably in the morning. I did this even before I knew it would one day be called a ritual. I would walk, mentally organize my priorities, read an inspiring passage, visualize what needed to happen. And that shielded me. You need something similar. A set of actions that reinforce every day who you have decided to be. This will keep your new system active, even when the world tries to sabotage you. Now, something no one tells you. Being unrecognizable makes others uncomfortable. Because your evolution exposes the stagnation in those who are still standing still. You will lose friends. You will be criticized. You will be called arrogant, obsessed, different. But you know what's worse than that? Being just like everyone else. The price of authenticity is high, but the price of conformity is death in life. I chose discomfort. I chose rejection. Because I knew where I wanted to go, and you need to do the same. Don't ask for permission to change. Don't wait for acceptance. Just walk, and those who have to follow will come. Those who don't will fall by the wayside. And that's okay. A word of warning now. Never negotiate with your system. A lost day may seem harmless, but it is always the beginning of a chain of setbacks. A shortcut today is a detour tomorrow. A just not today is a I'm done before you know it. I designed sabotage-proof systems. I had contingency protocols. I had people watching for flaws before they happened. Do that with your life. Anticipate your falls. Protect yourself from yourself. Make it clear that here now, in this new cycle, there is no more room for self-deception. And finally, the last cog, a most powerful one, the one that holds everything together, service. What builds an empire is not greed, it is service. What perpetuates a work is not ego, it is impact. All my fortune, my legacy, my factories, my innovations only became eternal because they solved real problems for real people. And you too must become useful, very useful, extremely useful in everything you do. Because the more you serve, the more value you generate. The more value you generate, the more you prosper. And the more you prosper, the more unrecognizable you become. That is the cycle. That is the code. And now it is yours. If you've followed me this far, then you are now standing at the great fork in the road. On one side, the old you, comfortable, familiar, safe, and unsuccessful. On the other, the new you, challenging, demanding, uncertain, and victorious. You already know which path to take. Now there's only one thing left, a definitive decision. Because that's the one gear that no one can turn for you. I'm not here to please you. I'm here to prepare you. You're ready. You're equipped. You're structured. Now get up, take action, and become unrecognizable. Because the only thing separating you from your best self is what you do in the next 24 hours. Go and build. If this has transformed you, share this video with someone who needs to wake up. Write in the comments, I decide to change now. And remember to subscribe, because this is just the first cog in a bigger revolution we're building together.